And so a worldview, even if we have never put it into words what our worldview is, we all have one. And that worldview is critical, it is crucial, and it shapes our understanding of the world in which we live. It actually shapes our understanding of several things. For example, our worldview affects or shapes our understanding about how the world works. What laws and natural or spiritual processes govern this world, its outcomes, what happens? So it affects basically our perspective or our understanding of how the world works. For an evolutionist, how the world works is simply through natural process, and that is all that there is. For a creationist, he understands that there is more at work in this natural world in which we live. There is a dimension, if we could say it that way, a spiritual aspect to the world in which we live. And he understands that. So it definitely affects how our understanding of how the world works. It also shapes and affects our understanding of why the world works the way that it does. In other words, what forces are behind these processes and outcomes. For an evolutionist, it's blind chance. In other words, there may be a natural selection type idea, the survival of the fittest, that may be the case. But otherwise, random mutations and chance have basically led to and shaped the world in which we live. And for a creationist, very different. Sees the processes and the outcomes, why the world works the way that it does, is governed by something much more transcendent than that. A creationist does not exclude natural process, but does not confine it to natural process. So a worldview affects our understanding of how the world works, why it works the way it does. Our worldview affects and shapes our understanding of what is right and wrong. In other words, what values or judgments tend to govern this universe. Again, for an evolutionist, there are no values. There are no judgments that govern except for the value of the best, what is most fitted or most suitable for surviving. The creationist understands, looking at the Bible, understands very differently about that. And then also, what is our responsibility to this world? Because of we understand why the world works the way it does, how it works, what is it that's governing that? And we have to put ourselves into that story that we tell ourselves, and what is our responsibility to that? So our worldview, again, whether you have articulated it or not, all things being equal, you do have one. And so what I'd like to talk about today is merely just to introduce the 6 crucial components to a Christian worldview.